Stepping back onto the ranch after 2 years felt like slapping the air itself. The smell of fresh manure hit me like a brick wall. The HOA president, Vivian Ashworth, had promised the place was vacant. But as I stood there, I saw something else, 200 cattle and horses grazing on the very land I'd inherited like they owned it. Vivian's scheme had been unfolding behind my back, turning my grandfather's land into a money-making machine. She had been secretly running an animal sanctuary scam, charging $500 adoption fees, pocketing donations, and even using my address to claim tax breaks. I confronted her right there on the spot. "You're trespassing, Mr. McNeil," she sneered. "This is protected sanctuary land now." I smiled, cold as ice. "Vivian, hope you enjoy spending my money. Tomorrow the sheriff, IRS, and my lawyer will show up. You're going to pay back every cent plus triple damages interest and possibly lose your freedom. Just wait." That's when I knew I had to make her pay. Now, what would you do if someone stole your inheritance while you were gone? Drop it in the comments below. The best revenge ideas will get a shout out in the next video. The divorce had already cost me everything except the ranch. And thank God Linda's lawyers couldn't touch it. After 20 years of building electrical systems for rich folks who treated me like furniture, I was starting over at 52. No more mansions or fancy trucks, just a toolbox older than most people's cars and exactly $847 in my checking account. I'm Garrett McNeil, a master electrician recently divorced, and the proud new owner of 40 acres of Texas hill country land that I never had the chance to visit until now. Sunset Ridge Ranch. The 1940s farmhouse, the vintage barn, and acres of land that I didn't even know how to manage. I figured my plan was simple: renovate the house, maybe raise a few cattle, and forget Linda ever existed. Yeah, that lasted about 3 days. The gravel crunched under designer heels, and I knew I had my first visitor. Vivian Ashworth stepping out of her white Tesla like she was allergic to the dirt beneath her. At 58, she had that suburban queen vibe, perfect hair, perfect makeup, and a fake smile that screamed trouble. "Mr. McNeil, I'm Vivian Ashworth, president of Lakeside Estates HOA. She handed me a violation notice that probably cost more than my entire grocery budget. "We need to discuss your property's compliance issues." Her list included every structure on my land. Grandpa's barn unsightly, my work truck inappropriate vehicle storage, the natural Texas grassland, failure to maintain landscaping standards. The daily fine was $250 until it was fixed, which would financially crush me in 2 weeks. "Ma'am, I'm not in your HOA," I said, wiping sawdust off my hands. "This ranch predates your subdivision by decades." Her smile turned as cold as January. "People like you don't understand community standards. Your situation is bringing down property values for homes worth over $800,000. We can't have working-class eyes disrupting our neighborhood aesthetic." I stood there holding that flimsy notice, watching the morning mist roll across my back pastures. I hadn't even walked the whole land yet. That evening, my neighbor Betty Kowalski at 78 shuffled over with homemade pierogies and neighborhood gossip. "That Ashworth woman's been asking questions about your property," Betty warned. "She wanted to know if it was properly secured if you were living here full-time. I told her the only thing needing security was her mouth with a roll of duct tape." Vivian Ashworth wasn't just the HOA president. She was a former real estate lawyer who had turned into a community activist with a lot of influence. Her husband Robert sat on the county planning commission, which explained how she had inside knowledge of zoning changes. Together they had turned the HOA into their own personal kingdom, targeting anyone who didn't fit their upper-class vision. But what I didn't know was that while she was harassing me about property standards, Vivian was using my back 40 acres as her personal money machine. That's right, while I focused on fixing what was in plain sight, she was building an empire on land I hadn't even bothered to check. Big mistake. If I'd only investigated the sound of cattle lowing in the distance, the entire story would have ended differently. 3 days later, a certified letter arrived from the county. Vivian wasn't playing around. The letter was official, loaded with legal jargon designed to scare me into submission. It demanded I appear before something called the Lakeside Property Standards Committee. And guess who was chairwoman? You guessed it, Vivian Ashworth. The real kicker was that they had dug up a county ordinance stating that buildings over 50 years old had to pass modern safety inspections before being considered legally habitable. Grandpa's barn, built in 1963, his farmhouse 1947. The inspections alone would cost $8,000 and the mandatory safety improvements, another $45,000. At the time, I had $847 in my checking and I was scared to use my credit card. This wasn't about safety, it was a strategy to bankrupt me into selling. But Vivian had picked the wrong electrician. I remembered something an old contractor had once told me: kid, agricultural land plays by different rules. The government can't touch a working farm. So I hit the county records office, dug through file cabinets, and found what I needed: gold. My property had agricultural exemption status dating back to 1962. Most zoning restrictions didn't apply, and Vivian's HOA committee had no legal authority over agricultural land. It was a book club with delusions of grandeur. With that, I filed a counterclaim for harassment and called my insurance company for liability coverage. Then I noticed something: fresh tire tracks near my back gate. Someone had been sneaking around, and it wasn't my pickup. This wasn't just a power trip, this was a well-funded operation. That evening, while going through Grandpa's papers, I found something that changed everything: the original survey maps. My property line extended 200 feet further than I'd realized. The community garden that Vivian kept bragging about, it was on my land. The garden had a greenhouse irrigation system and raised beds. Vivian charged rental fees for the plots and took a percentage of the profits from the produce sales, thousands of dollars a year. I realized she had turned my property into a full-scale livestock operation without my knowledge.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.